everyone, and thank you so much for watching. We are going to be the place for all things Oscars. It's the 97th Annual Academy Awards, also known as the Oscars. And joining me here today is none other than the biggest movie lover here at First Coast News. It's Mr. Zach Wilcock. Welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you for having me. No, the Oscars is like my Super Bowl, so I'm so excited to be able to do this, and great categories we have today, so thank you for inviting me on.
You're welcome. All right, so Zach, before we get into the categories, we have to talk about your love for movies. This is not something that you just woke up overnight and said, hey, let me just watch a couple of the movies. This started when you were back in college?
Yeah, I mean, I used to watch the Oscars with my mom every year, and we were, really into it then, and it was fun kind of trying to see as many movies as we could. But then when I was in my dorm in college, I was like, well, I got to watch the Oscars. And we had one TV for the whole, pod, I guess. And I was like, I'm going to rent it for now. And everyone was like, oh, he's going to rent it for the Oscars? And so then they all joined, and we had this big kind of party. Not all of us even hung out usually. And so it was kind of exciting, and I was explaining some of the movies to folks. And so then it went from that, and then when I got my own apartment, I kind of started throwing these parties, and now we do costumes, and then we do a ballot, and I even do food themed to the movies now. So yeah, I love it. Every year I feel like I get a little bit more into it, so I try to see as many as I can.
Yeah, you're stuck. Last year I remember being in the newsroom, and you and Carolina, who is your wife, who just talks about, and she's also our producer too as well here at First Coast News, just talking about how you guys are getting set and getting ready. So when it comes to movies, you know what it takes in order to be a successful movie, because you know the history behind a lot of these movies, even from the Oscars to previous years to before. So when it comes to, we're talking about actors in a lead role for nominees. I would love to say it. The nominees are. We have Adrien Brody, and then he is in The Brutalist. Timothee Chalamet, and he is in The Complete Unknown. Coleman Domingo in Sing Sing, and Ralph Fiennes in Conclave, and Sebastian Stan in The Apprentice. So before we get into all of that, Zach, we have to talk about those snubs before we get into it.
I know. Yeah, I think the one that most people, when they look at this list, would see, at least movie buffs would see, is Daniel Craig in Queer, which I did not see, so I can't really weigh in totally, but I think that was one that people were expecting to pop in there. And maybe Hugh Grant in Heretic, but I think that they nailed it, though, actually. I really do with these five. I think these were great. I've seen 4 of these performances, and I think that this is a great group this year, and a little different than we normally see. It's not quite the typical Oscar bait that we usually see. So.
And honestly, I just have to throw Denzel Washington in there with The Gladiator. This is something that, some people liked the movie. Some people thought it was just overly hyped. What did you think?
Yeah, so in Paul Mescal, I think that would have been another snub for lead actor, Denzel probably for supporting actor, and I'm really not surprised to not see them on there, but like we were talking about earlier, Denzel was kind of the front runner for supporting actor when the season kind of got started, and then we started seeing nominations in other things before the Oscars, other ceremonies, and he just wasn't really a part of it. And so I think they campaigned him really hard, but I think that they went for some more nuanced performances here. And this is just quite a list. So
and Denzel Washington talked about having, I think, about 7 more movies left until he retires. He's now a pastor, now at a church too. So I think his life is going in a completely different direction. So we're, of course, always so thankful for the Denzel Washington movies. If we could get 6 more out of him, that'll be perfect. But we want to get into this. So our lead acting role, and this is Adrien Brody in The Brutalist. Take a look at this trailer.
There's him. He's alive. What? These are yours, yes?
Yes.
All of them? Yes. Tell me, why is an accomplished foreign architect shoveling coal here in Philadelphia?
I'm afraid it is not so simple. There was a war on, and yet many of the sites of my projects had survived. My buildings were devised to endure such erosion of shoreline.
I
brought you all out here to join me in looking...
All right, so they describe this movie, Zach, as a deep, complex character in a drama about art of survival. Brody brings the brodying intensity that we've all missed. Would you agree?
Oh, the Academy loves Adrian Brody, and there's a reason why. And it's funny watching this trailer. When this movie first got marketed, it was more of the trailer was just kind of clips from the movie. It was more like a teaser, and I never actually saw the trailer before watching it because I felt like what Brady Corbett, the director, wanted us to see was just this teaser, this 3.5-hour monsoon of a movie, and only seeing like a few frames and not really being able to gather much from it. And so going in, it was an overwhelming experience because I really didn't know what to expect. So.
Yeah. All right, next up we have Timothee Chalamet and The Complete Unknown. Take a look at this.
You tramped all the way from Minnesota. Why is that?
I wanted to catch a spark.
If you're traveling in the North Country Fair.
I say no one wants to hear what a kid wrote last month.
Well, I like your songs.
Where the winds hit heavy on the borderline.
Who wrote this?
He did.
Remember me. How about that Joan Baez, folks?
But she's pretty. Sings pretty. Maybe a little too pretty.
Your songs are like an oil painting at the dentist's office.
You're kind of an asshole, Bob.
If you go with Snowflake Storm.
All right, so this was what they described as a heartthrob with some layers. Chalamet got to really as a deep in this loner type of character. Would you agree?
Yeah, do you like Bob Dylan?
Yes, I do.
I love Bob Dylan. He's actually my breakup artist. When I was in high school and I got dumped, I drove around listening to Bob Dylan afterward. So when I saw this movie coming out,
This is to remind you back in high school.
A little bit, honestly. And they sang some of the songs that you know what? So when Wicked came out, everyone was talking about how everybody was singing along in the theater to Wicked. For me, it was this movie. I had a hard time not singing along to all the songs. I mean, he's such a legend. And the first hour or so, I was kind of like, oh, this is just Timothée playing him. But then at some point, right around this scene when he started to become more of a rock star, I just forgot it was Timothée. I thought I was just watching Bob Dylan. So it was quite a performance and quite a movie. And a fun, just kind of classic biopic and a cool look at his life.
I want to talk about that. You mentioned getting emotional when you watch these movies. Sometimes we get emotion. It's movies like this that bring you back to that time in your life that really make that connection that, you know, you believe this movie, like you believe that you're in it too with them. And I think that's what makes a good movie.
Yeah, I mean, the songs resonated with me. I remember listening to a lot of them with my dad too. And this is one, there were only 3 this year and we'll get into it, but this is one of the ones that did get a little tear going at the end. And it was cool how, in fact, they just showed that clip. It was really wrapped around his relationship with Woody Guthrie, which I knew nothing about other than that they were kind of like pals. And it was really cool to see how that relationship really spanned his career and the different steps along the way and how he always came back to Woody. So that was cool.
All right, folks at home, I do want you to understand and know that this is a complete open conversation. We're saying our opinions. We are not swearing by this, of course, by, no chance. But at the end of this, Zach and I will tell you who we believe is going to take home that gold trophy at the end. So we'll talk about this. A part of me, I'm feeling like you're going to say The Complete Unknown might be, I don't know, Zach, but this is, it's that connection that you were talking about. Okay, so this is one of my favorite ones. This was Sing Sing by Coleman Domingo. Take a look.
To die, to sleep, to dream.
This is a clemency hearing for your conviction, 25 to life. Since you've been in custody, you've been involved in a theater program.
Gentlemen, let's go. It's been a program that was established to help people get more in touch with their feelings and truly get some rehabilitation.
I am Gladiator Goliath. I am Spartacus.
I'm Prince Hamlet of Denmark.
And it's turned into something of, wonderful.
What part do you play
from time to time.
Okay, so this movie is one of those movies that if you love if you're a history buff, if you know about the Sing Sing Penitentiary, you know the stories behind it, some of the stories that came out of it, documentaries that were written about this, really, really powerful. A lot of people described it as a powerhouse. So I actually got a chance to watch earlier today on the Today Show, Clarence Macklin as well as Coleman Domingo talk about how they took these characters. Some of these people, Clarence Macklin, actually was in the Sing Sing Penitentiary doing a scene right above where he was incarcerated. So, you know, I think it's scenes like that truly bring out the real character. A lot of people said these aren't real actors. A lot of the people inside of this movie, the Sing Sing, weren't real actors. They were just people acting. And I think that sometimes makes the best actors. I think we see a lot of movies that when you realize, wow, this is your first movie, it seems like you were born for this. It seems like this was something that you were meant to do. Clarence also mentioned being out in the field at the Sing Sing Penitentiary and saying that him and the guys that he was in jail with actually just would watch the Today Show and say, you know, like, wow. And then fast forward to today, he's sitting on the Today Show couch with Al Roker. So, you know, this story is about brotherly love. It's about William Shakespeare. It's about men creating a bond. It's based on a true story. I think that's when you hear based on a true story, that's when you know. But one of the things that they did mention, saying the cinematic part wasn't so much there, but it made sense because it was that documentary style form of the movie. So how they shot it, the angles that they shot it, sometimes it went into that documentary and then it went back into the movie feel like. So I think they did a good job with this movie. I think that Coleman Domingo, he's such a great actor. Zach, you know him in all the movies. He does such a great job and just portraying that and also allowing a supporting actor to take the spotlight too as well. It's not easy for people to share the spotlight.
No, but yeah, Coleman Domingo's used to it. We were talking about this earlier. He's always in a movie that he's one of the only ones nominated for that movie, so it's tough for me to get to him when I'm trying to prioritize movies that rack up the nominations, and I think a lot of people can probably relate to that. You're trying to see all these movies. It's hard with streaming, and they don't always get the longest theatrical run. But when we were talking about snubs earlier, you mentioned, you know, Clarence Macklin definitely probably is one of those snubs for supporting actor, especially effectively playing himself.
Right.
And his experience, and the Academy usually likes that kind of thing. But we're talking about Coleman Domingo here, and you know, and he was the lead, and it seems, as a musical theater person myself, it seems that it was quite a performance. I would have enjoyed it. This is the only movie in this category that I have not seen, so I can't weigh in too much, but I do plan to see it at some point. I'm hoping to get it before the Oscars.
I do want to ask you a question. How do you go about watching all these movies? What's the perfect mix? Do you wait until the nominations come out? Do you watch them before the nominations come out?
There are certain movies that it's like Wicked we knew was going to be up for a bunch, right? And so, and Conclave was another one. So some of those I will watch before the nominations come out if I know that they're going to be a part of it. But some I do wait. Like Gladiator, I kind of waited on just because I was like, I want to see if it's going to be as good as it, and it wasn't. Yeah. Not that it wasn't as good as it was marketed for, but it didn't get a nomination.
The Oscars say.
Right.
Yes, right.
Yeah. So, so I typically will prioritize the ones that I know are locks, and then once they come out, and a lot of the movies, like The Brutalist, just had its wide release, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago. So some of them will wait for their wide release until the nominations come out, so they can kind of build that hype.
Yeah. All right. So we have Conclave up next. Take a look.
The Pope is dead. The throne is vacant.
What happened? They say a heart attack.
You know how rumor spreads, and 1.25 billion souls watching.
Well Cardinal Lawrence. It seems the responsibility for the conclave falls upon you. The supervision of this election. This is duty I never thought I'd have to perform. They are sequestered, and they must be shielded from
all right, so
news
Ralph
that
playing this political thriller is how they described it, a very power-hungry Vatican official. Did you get a chance to see this movie, and what were your thoughts about this one?
I did. This is one of the first ones I saw, actually, from this Oscar slate. And Ralph Fiennes, of course, a lot of people know him from Voldemort. So it's hard to separate that.
I was going to say, there's something about him that I can't unsee.
He has a nose in this movie. But he is always excellent. And this is a movie that topically I was not that interested in. Mm-hmm. I just thought that there was no way they could make electing a new pope that interesting. But I tell you what, it's defined as a thriller, and that it really fits that. I mean, right out the gate, the cinematography that they use, there's a really cool scene at the beginning where they have the Pope in an ambulance, and there's like flashing lights, and the score just kind of matches up with it, and it like you get drawn in right away. And 2 hours later, I was still sucked in. I mean, you kind of go on this journey with Ralph Fiennes where he is kind of a soft-spoken lead, sort of a vehicle for the plot, and you're discovering things with him and why each one of these candidates is corrupt and not the right person to be the new pope. And it's a fun adventure, and I didn't think it would be. It's one of the more engaging movies of this Oscar slate, and I think a lot of people probably aren't that interested in it. And it doesn't help that it's rated. I think it's rated PG, and a lot of the times we saw with Hidden Figures and movies in the past, when they get that PG rating, people don't take them seriously. Yeah. That's not to say this is necessarily a movie that you're going to want to watch with your kids. Yeah. But I thought it was really interesting. And a fun ride, really. And it was thrilling. I mean, it was captivating.
I'm surprised that they said thriller, like to see the Pope as the thriller, or it's the backstory, I should say.
I think it's because the Pope is this like symbol of purity, right? And so the way the movie's delivered is you feel like each one of these candidates, while they may have their own agenda, has this sense of purity because they feel like they can be the next Pope. And it's really kind of about politics and the ambition that plays a role in that. And everyone grappling with wanting to do the best thing for the church while also, I mean, frankly, they want to be the Pope, right? They want to be the top dog. And so as he's discovering these things, and something about like some of these shots are just so dark and silhouetted, and as he's discovering these clues, it really does feel like you're kind of on the mystery machine here, and you're really trying to find the next clue as he's trying to figure it all out. And he's ostensibly trying to remain impartial, sort of guide the process for all these other cardinals to help them pick the right pope, but he has a hard time remaining impartial as he learns these nuggets, and so it's something he has to grapple with, the sort of the classic way that it's done, while also realizing they have to do what's best for the church. So it really solid movie.
I have to give you a shout out, Zach. You're doing such a great job without the spoiler alert. I feel like I would just blurt out, and then at the end when they
right. No, it's tough to not give this one away. It is a crazy plot twist at the end. I mean, the whole movie is a twist after twist after twist. And that's another one that if we're going to talk about snubs, Stanley Tucci in that movie, I don't want to give anything away, but his supporting character goes on one of the biggest arcs of all the supporting characters that I've seen this Oscar slate. He didn't get a nom. I don't know that he necessarily deserved it because he didn't have as big a role as some of the supporting actors we're going to talk about later. But man, I mean, it was an incredible performance. He's always great. And so to see that arc that he went on, and there's a little bit of a redemption at the end, without giving too much away, I would encourage anyone to see that because it is a masterclass of acting. Also, shout out to John Lithgow. He was great as well. Don't want to give anything away about his character, but I mean, he's always tremendous, and especially like watching The Crown and him being Winston Churchill in that, and he was so good in that. And so this movie, he really. It was everyone. It was just perfectly cast. I'm interested because next year they're going to do a casting category. And this is the kind of movie where on the surface, I don't know that I would have been drawn to any of these actors, but it was just so well cast. They all fit so well. It would definitely be a contender for something like that.
All right, so up next we have the most talked about movie all year, right? You hear about it or you don't hear about it, The Apprentice.
Hello, this is Donald Trump from Mr. Cohn. Thank you so much.
Donald who?
Roy Cohn, nice to meet you.
The Roy Cohn from all the papers? Yeah, you're brutal.
Guilty as charged. Roy Cohn is a crook. He's been indicted 3 times.
I'm gonna let you in on a little secret.
People, they hire me because I'm a winner.
How do you win?
The first rule is the simplest. Attack, attack, attack.
It's gonna be the finest building in the country. In the world. It's gonna be spectacular.
Rule 2, admit nothing, deny everything.
You think you can beat the U.S. government?
All right, a lot to take in, right? So Zach and I, folks at home, we were talking about how this movie, a lot of people have a lot to say about it. President Donald Trump even tweeting about how this movie he hopes would be a flop or maybe not even successful. The director tweeting back to him saying that, thank you so much for the support of the movie. He said, after that tweet that the president actually tweeted, he noticed a lot more people watching the movie after that. So I think when it comes to The Apprentice and now President Donald Trump, I think he mentioned how this movie came out at a specific time when he was running for president and how he felt that this was low and it could have affected his presidential run too as well. He thought it was just a low blow for them to drop that movie on him like that. But watching that trailer, because I didn't get a chance to see it just yet, Zach, but Zach did. Tell me, what are your thoughts about this movie?
Yeah, I think everyone's afraid to talk about it. I think I'm a little afraid to talk about it, honestly. Now, I do want to point out this is well before he's president, right? It takes place in the 70s. I think it ends in the mid-80s, late 80s maybe. Also has nothing to do with the show The Apprentice.
No, and that was the biggest twist that everyone, going into it. A lot of people said this had nothing to do with The Apprentice, but Zach opened my eyes. You said it was more so the teacher being the student and then the student being the teacher, right?
Right. So Donald Trump effectively starts off as the apprentice for Roy Cohn, and it's about their relationship, which is something that I knew nothing about, really, honestly. And I felt like I knew a little bit about President Trump, especially since he's been, running for president and now he's the president. So... but I didn't know anything about his relationship with Roy Cohn. I really didn't know a lot about how he kind of built himself up into this role, into this character that he is today. And so watching this movie, it was really interesting to see that backstory, to see his family dynamic and his dynamic with Roy Cohn. And you kind of have this start where Roy Cohn is sort of the alpha, right? And Trump's the apprentice trying to get in under his wing. And then that gradually that weight shifts and Trump becomes more the alpha, and Roy Cohn kind of starts to fade away toward the end. And it was a really dynamic performance. Sebastian Stan has come out in an interview and said nobody's talking about it, but people come up to him at parties and say it's one of their favorite performances of the year. And watching Sebastian Stan, almost immediately you start to feel like he has those mannerisms down, and he becomes Donald Trump. And so. And as you're going through the movie, there's jumps of 3-4 years at a time, and with each jump, it's such a bang to start that new scene because he is just that much more of the Trump that we all probably recognize.
Right.
Because it's strange to see him in the beginning of the movie be kind of a meek, quiet character, and he's definitely not that by the end. So really dynamic performance. He was in another movie, A Different Man, this year that also got a lot of critical attention, so it seemed like it was going to be one or the other. I think it's actually cool that the Academy picked this one. I think it adds a little bit of drama to this category, and it was quite a performance, so he definitely earned that nomination.
Okay, so before we go and wrap this category up, I do want to ask you, what are the 3 things that you would take away from this Apprentice for folks to watch? Maybe you could have missed if you're not paying close attention, because there was a line that I can't remember Cohen said in this movie is, never admit to defeat. That was a line that he mentioned in the movie that you're seeing on everything now. Even as President Donald Trump is in office right now, it's not something that a winner does,
Right. Well, and there's a few things. So there's 3 punchlines that Roy Cohn has at the beginning that almost intros the movie. The first 3 things he tells Trump because he asks how he's so successful, and those are how he explains it. And at the end, Trump starts using those when he's asked why he's so successful. So it just kind of shows how he sort of molded his personality around some of the lessons that he learned from Roy Cohn when Roy Cohn was kind of an alpha dog. And there's also some things where he takes a slogan from Reagan's campaign as well and starts to sort of use it as his own too. So that's kind of one of the motifs, is how he establishes himself by drawing on the people that he's surrounded with. But it is interesting because it starts off with he's trying to get his dad's company out of legal trouble. Roy Cohn's an attorney who is kind of a snapping turtle, if you will, right?
He did it whatever it took in order to handle the job.
And if it took bending the rules a little too, he would do that. And so he gets them off for that, but then they kind of establish their relationship there, and then he keeps him around while he's developing his empire, and it goes into the building of the Trump Tower and all those things. So really interesting to see that character dynamic.
All right, so we are going to pull up those again. Take a look at your screen. Zach, who do you feel is going to walk away with this leading acting role winner?
Well, I think the one, as we were just starting out here, that I didn't talk about enough, because it's a 3.5-hour movie with an intermission, is The Brutalist, right? And it's about an immigrant story. You have a Hungarian Jew who comes to America just after World War II and develops a bit of a relationship with a man in Pennsylvania who's a millionaire. And that man becomes kind of obsessed with his work. And it's really this full arc of an immigrant story from him being really the low man on the totem pole, trying to find a place to simply stay. He's homeless for a little while at the beginning. And it's not really I guess it's a little bit of a spoiler, but obviously he comes a long way by the end of the movie, right? And so it's just such a unique performance. And there's been a lot of controversy with this movie as well, in that there was AI used to adapt Adrian Brody's voice when he's speaking in Hungarian toward the beginning of the movie. And throughout, there's a few times where he speaks to his wife in Hungarian and that kind of thing. And so they've used I believe it was an editor who is Hungarian, he spoke some of the words. They modulated his voice with Adrian Brody. This is something that movies have been doing for a long time. I think I need to get out there.
Yes.
They just never used AI to do it. And so it's getting some attention as to like whether or not his performance is authentic.
Okay.
And I just want to say that, I mean,
even without that, right?
Yeah, I mean, and if that is what it takes to make this movie better and to make him more believable, I think that it's certainly warranted, because I think I'm here to experience the best movie as a fan. And his mom's from Hungary as well. She was an immigrant, so it was a movie that was close to him personally. And it was such a tremendous story. And his performance, there are several monologues that he gives that just really move you about the immigrant experience. Watching this trailer, I get goosebumps. So I do think that despite the drama, if you will, with the AI stuff, and that could lose him some votes, I do think that this is Adrian Brody's category to lose, because of the arc that his character goes on. There are several breakdown scenes that are just so good. We're seeing one of them now where he's just like, they don't want us here. And I think that I'm not an immigrant, but I imagine that was a lot of relatable content for folks. And this is one, I'm getting teary just talking about it.
Yeah.
Seeing it in theaters was an emotional experience too. So yeah, I think that he walks away with this one.
Yeah.
And
why are you getting emotional?
Yeah, I don't know. I think because I just watched it yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's still like resonating, and I'm still digesting it.
Yeah.
And I usually, my biggest complaint about movies today that are Oscar movies are that they're too long.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought I was going to go in. I was like, oh my God, 3.5 hours? What are they expecting me to sit through? And especially sitting it through theaters where you can't watch it in parts. But this movie never felt too long. There was nothing you could cut from it, I don't think. And it was just, it was a moving performance. That one, Timothée Chalamet had a very moving performance as Bob Dylan, but there's a difference there because Adrian Brody's character had a lot more going on, whereas I feel like the Bob Dylan character, not that Chalamet didn't do a great job, was kind of reserved, kind of stoic, and that's just kind of the nature of Bob Dylan, right? And so I think that they're very different characters. I also want to talk about, I think there's always one scene that makes me feel like this person's going to win or not win, and you have to have a good breakdown scene for me. Brody definitely had one. Not really sure that Chalamet had one, honestly. Ralph Fiennes definitely had one because he's trying to put these pieces together, right? And he's completely swamped by the whole drama and the politics of picking a new pope. But there's a part where he sneaks in, I don't want to give too much away, but he sneaks into the pope's chambers, if you will. So he kind of breaks the rules because they're supposed to be sealed during the election process of the new pope. And as he's in there, he's looking for clues. I won't give any of those away. But while he's in there, he finds the pope's reading glasses next to his Bible, and he has a breakdown scene. And it's really powerful because he steps away from what he's been experiencing, right? And he realizes he needs to grieve the Pope's loss because that's a friend to him and a bit of a mentor as well. And he had a very close relationship with the Pope that we don't get to see because the movie starts with the Pope dying. Mm-hmm. So I think that was quite a breakdown scene. Adrian Brody had one as well, trying to get his wife to America. Well, he really had several, and what he goes through, I don't want to give any more of that away. But and then there's also a breakdown scene in The Apprentice where Donald Trump's brother dies, which isn't a spoiler because that happened in real life.
We do know that.
Right. His brother was an alcoholic. He died early. He was 42. And so his wife, Ivana, tries to comfort him, and he absolutely pushes that away. And it's such a juxtaposition, right? Because you had Ralph Fiennes really trying to come to terms with losing the Pope, taking a moment to grieve, whereas in The Apprentice, it kind of feels like that's the moment where Trump decides, I'm pushing my humanity away.
Right.
Because I have bigger ambitions. And so it's totally different the way they handle those scenes. And yet Sebastian Stan is also incredible in that scene in trying to push his emotions away, but really struggling to do so. So those would be my three frontrunners. Personally.
Yes.
I think the Academy, there's been a lot of momentum behind Timothée Chalamet's performance as Bob Dylan. It's a crowd-pleasing movie. It's a relatively easy watch compared to some of these. The Brutalist is a hard watch. I don't know if it's a movie I will ever be able to watch again because of the length and because it's emotionally exhausting.
Yeah.
So I think that there is some momentum behind Chalamet to make them kind of the top two, him and Brody. And I think the Academy wants to get behind a young actor who's kind of the face of a generation. But I do think, and I'm willing to lock it in, I think Brody brings home the hardware, and I think he will give an incredible acceptance speech, and I think it's really a testament to the immigrant experience.
All right. That was great, Zach. I mean, I feel like you were able to run this all down.
Well, I appreciate you letting me take the time to get it all out.
No,
I
it's
had
good.
some
And
opinions.
I really truly do believe, especially in The Brutalist, for people to go out to see that, especially being with so much that's going on in the world completely right now, right? So there's a lot of connection when it comes to that. And the emotion that I can clearly see in your eyes is something, when you looked around the theater, I don't know if you were at the theater or at home watching it, did you notice that that's how everyone sort of kind of felt? Because just even looking at the reviews, people are saying, like, this is the movie that you're going to walk away from feeling completely different. You're not going to be the same person coming out of that movie theater that you were walking into.
Yeah, I think so. And you know what? Frankly, I got to put it out there. It's also a funny movie, and it doesn't seem like it has any right to be funny, just like how Conclave doesn't have any right to be interesting, but it certainly is. And so there were actually folks in front of me who were laughing out loud several times throughout the movie. But yeah, I
Not
definitely...
too much, right?
Not too much laughing. I mean, it felt comfortable because there were a lot of scenes where I think that you get wrapped up in the drama, and Adrian Brody's character's funny, and he's snarky, and he gives it back a little bit to some of the Americans he's coming across along the way who want to just kind of suppress him, push him down because he's an immigrant. And it is tough a little with the accent. I think I probably, if I were watching it at home, would have had subtitles on. That's not to say it's not good. I think that he nailed it with the accent. I think that's kind of part of the story, right? Is that people have a hard time understanding him at times. But I think that looking around in the theater, not that I took my eyes off the screen very much, but it definitely seemed like everyone was getting a little emotional. I mean, there are some scenes that are very hard to watch in that movie because of the experience he goes through. And I also want to say it's not a true story. Laszlo Toth is based on some real-life Hungarian architects who came to America.
But not a completely...
But he's not. It's a fictional character that was made up by the director who wrote the screenplay and wanted to try and capture a lot of different experiences into one character.
Okay. All right, so you're locking in Brody with The Brutalist, right?
Yep, I feel good about it.
And we're going to come back to that, of course, in 5 weeks? When the Oscars, March 2nd, we'll talk about if Zach was correct.
They're coming.
When it comes to that, I want Sebastian to win. I really do. I feel like his acting was excellent, and I feel like taking a risk, especially in the type of environment that we are living in now, and stepping outside of the box and pushing that button and pushing the envelope to, create movie and content again. Even comedians can't be funny anymore. You can't do certain things because a lot of people take it personal, right?
Yeah.
And then you have that. So I think I would love to see him, but I think I'm going to second the Brody and The Brutalist with you. I do believe that the amount of reviews that are out with this movie and just the backing of this the movie and how it comes out and how it comes across even in trailers, I feel like that it's definitely going to move the Academy.
Yeah, I think it's between Brody and Chalamet, but I do think that if it were up to me, it would be between Brody and Stan, because Sebastian Stan had the most of those five, I think, transformative performance, and that I'd never seen him in that kind of role. I don't know that I ever will again.
Yeah.
And that was, and I think that
you get one time to do that, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that he really nailed it.
And he has the trophy in this picture right there. So I don't know. I might switch my.
Yeah, it was a surprising performance. I don't know that that's who I would have thought to be cast. And you know what's interesting is he was actually initially cast in The Brutalist. Okay. So I don't know if he would have been able to do The Apprentice.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and The Brutalist took so long to make that they wound up recasting the entire movie. Mark Rylance was also initially cast, and Vanessa Kirby. And they recast it with Brody and Felicity Jones and Guy Pearce. And I think they nailed it with the recasting. I can't really imagine it with the original cast. And one thing we did talk about before, since the Oscars is kind of a gambling game, betting on who's going to win. Yes. Typically, you can only go as far as your director will take you. That's not necessarily true.
You did say that.
But we do see Best Picture and Best Act and Leading Actor and Actress typically go to the movie that has a director that's nominated. And so without a director nominated, I believe, for The Apprentice and for Conclave, which was a snub for director. We're not talking about director today. But I don't think that will help either of Fiennes or Stan's campaigns. Whereas Brody is attached to Brady Corbett. I think he's probably the front runner as well for director. So I think that puts Brody in a good position. But it could help Chalamet, too, because his director did secure a nom. And we weren't sure James Mangold was going to. It seemed like it was between him and Edward Berger for Conclave. So it's going to be interesting. I don't think that, like last year, it was Cillian Murphy all the way.
Yeah.
It was his Oscar to lose. And I think this year it really could come down to those two. And it just depends on if they want to throw their momentum behind a really dramatic, passionate performance or a really stoic one that matched the character really well. Because Chalamet, like I said earlier, I forgot I was watching him, and I genuinely thought I was watching Bob Dylan. Yeah. Now, my fiance told me that she felt like she was still watching Timothee Chalamet the whole time, but maybe it's because she knows him that well. I don't know. So
she's a big fan.
Yeah.
All right, so we are moving on to an actor in a supporting role nominee, and we're going to put those nominees up on the screen right there for you. Zach, can you list our names for us, who we have up there?
Sure. We have a bit of a newcomer to really any category. Yura Borisov for Anora. Kieran Culkin from A Real Pain. Obviously, he had a lot of fame with Succession, but up for A Real Pain here, so he kind of became a household name from that show. We have Edward Norton from A Complete Unknown, obviously a household name, been around for quite a while. Guy Pearce as well for The Brutalist, again, another one that was recast, so it's amazing he went from being a recasting choice to now being an Oscar nomination, and then Jeremy Strong for The Apprentice.
All right, so we're going to take a look at Anora first.
Yo, did you pick up milk?
Do you see milk in the fridge?
No.
Then I didn't pick up the milk.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Annie.
You don't have cash? Let's go to the ATM.
Well, we could go chill out in a private room.
I got a kid who wants someone who speaks Russian.
My Russian is terrible. I can't even roll my R's.
No.
Я просто хотел тебе предложить. Ты хочешь быть эксклюзивно со мной?
15. Cash up front.
Deal.
Deal.
All right, so they describe this as a breakout performance as a vulnerable young man caught in a whirlwind of fate. Critics can't stop talking about this brilliant performance.
Yeah, this is the one in this category I haven't seen yet. I definitely will see it because I think it is one of the strong contenders for Best Picture. And I love Mikey Madison from Better Things as well, and I think she could be a real contender for Best Actress here. But I believe... So it's about a stripper falling in love with a Russian oligarch, right? Kind of a modern American fable.
Yeah.
And I believe it's actually one of the henchmen, if you will, that is nominated, not the supporting actor that plays the one she falls in love with. So I feel like we need to get that out there. I haven't seen it yet, though, so I can't really weigh in too much, but I'm excited. Sean Baker, I haven't necessarily loved his work, which I know I get a lot of grief for. The Florida Project didn't resonate with me as much as I wanted it to. But I am excited to see this movie, so I will definitely have a take once I do.
All right, up next, we have A Real Pain.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
Boner
is not available.
Hey, Benji, I just got to the airport. I really hope you left already.
God, you made it.
What's up, cuz? I got some good shit for when we land.
Wait, you're not like taking weed into Poland, are you?
Oh, yeah.
Benji?
They don't give a shit about that stuff, man.
I think they very much do give a shit
Oh,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah.
We get high in backseat circle.
Davers and I are cousins. We used to be joined at the hip. Our grandma was from here, so Dave arranged for us to join this geriatric Polish tour with you fine people.
That's the way we get by.
I really needed this, man. I know that it's tough for you to leave your boy.
The way we get by.
I don't really have anything going on.
I know it's been a tough few months for you, so...
I also want to say that I know you're not the most comfortable person with people.
I'm not?
No.
Does it look real? Well, they're twice the size of you in metal, so...
You sure you don't want to come up here?
I'm good.
Can you take my picture?
That's what I'm talking about.
All right. They say an antagonist with charm is how they describe this movie. With a whole lot of darkness, he's earned every bit of this nod. So that's how this A Real Pain is described. Like I was telling Zach before we went to this trailer, I can't unsee him without seeing Mark Zuckerberg. It's really hard for me to unsee that, but I do think that this is going to be a great movie too as well.
Yeah, this is my favorite movie, I think, of this slate. I love these kind of indie movies. Not that it's really coming of age, but this kind of vibe. The screenplay is so good. Jesse Eisenberg is the lead actor, actually. So Kieran Culkin's the other one who is nominated. But Eisenberg wrote, directed, and starred in this movie. And it's an incredible screenplay. It feels so authentic. It kind of feels like they're just vibing, right? And I don't know about the antagonist description in that review. I don't know that I really would have taken away from that.
Complex antagonist.
Yeah, for sure. The only argument I've heard against this performance is that there is an argument that Kieran Culkin was actually more of the lead actor. He probably had the most lines, and so he's been campaigned as a supporting. I view him as a supporting. I think Eisenberg is it's his story, but it's really about the two of them. And this performance was just a masterclass. This is the only movie that got me tears running down a little bit. The other ones got me watering up a little, but this movie was something. So.
Okay, up next we have The Complete Unknown.
Yeah, we can probably skip over that one. We already watched the trailer for that.
We did already watch The Complete Unknown, so we talked about that. Edward Norton is the person who was up for the supporting actor role. Norton, always good is how they described it, but here he's exceptional. A chilling, layered performance that'll stick with you long after the credits roll.
Yeah, I don't know about chilling. Interesting. So he plays Pete Seeger, who's kind of a mentor for Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan runs into him early on when he meets Woody Guthrie. And so he kind of takes him under his wing and gets him exposed to the folk community. And Edward Norton's character is there to really promote folk music and its authenticity, whereas Bob Dylan is the one that wants to stretch what folk means and incorporate some rock and roll and modernize it a little. So Edward Norton was really the stagnant character here, or the static one rather, and he has a really great speech toward the end of the movie about why it's so important to him to maintain. Essentially, the drama runs around that they are going to this folk festival, and Bob wants to incorporate some of his new music, and Edward Norton is like, please just do the classics. And it was a really nuanced performance. I felt like it was a little bit of too much of a static character for me to really get behind as a win. I think he definitely deserves the nomination. I have seen, though, that he is gaining a lot of traction. This movie as a whole is. So I think he could really be a contender for this category. If he wins, it wouldn't hurt my feelings, but I don't know that he'd be my pick.
All right, so of course we want to throw up those our nominees for this again too as well. We talked about The Brutalist and we talked about The Apprentice. Jeremy Strong for Apprentice and Guy Pearce for The Brutalist. All of these movies excellent. We of course suggest you to watch each and every one of these movies so you can definitely tap in with our conversation on air and online. We do want to mention that the Oscars will be happening right here on ABC News. First Coast News Plus will get a chance to showcase that, and that will be March 2nd, 2025, happening at the Dolby Theater. I don't know, Zach, have you ever been to the Dolby Theater yet?
No, I would love to go. No, I haven't.
It's beautiful. I got a chance to take my picture right in front of the Marilyn Monroe star. So whenever you get a chance to go to Hollywood, definitely take advantage of so many pictures. The Hollywood sign, it's so unreal to see. It's so tiny, when you get there. You see it on TV. It's so big, but it's a nice time. Of course, you have a lot of actors that actually happened to walk past in Hollywood at that time too as well. So all of these movies, excellent. Before we go, Zach, we do have to get for your supporting actor role, who do you think is going to take it away?
Yeah, I do. Real quick, Guy Pearce and Jeremy Strong, both great performances, real arcs to both of those. Guy Pearce really kind of the villain in The Brutalist, but it's hard to understand that's the role he's in at first. And Jeremy Strong really starting off as that alpha dog, and then Roy Cohn's life ending, dying from AIDS was just, and you see that whole trajectory with him. But if we're gonna pick the winner here, I do think this is Kieran Culkin's award to lose. I could see it going to Edward Norton. I really could. I don't know that Kieran Culkin's that strong of a frontrunner. He has done well in some of the other award shows so far, and he's done really well this circuit. So I think that his performance was just it had so much, right? It's just so big, and I think it's gonna be a hard not to give it to him, especially working with that screenplay.
So you're going with Edward Norton?
Kieran Culkin. I'm gonna lock it in. Okay. I think he will be on my ballot. Okay. I won't be surprised if I'm wrong. I never am surprised if I'm wrong because I'm wrong a lot. So.
All right. So I am going to go with Jeremy Strong in this one for The Apprentice. I think something is telling me The Apprentice is going to take a lot of people by storm. So I may be wrong. I'm not always right, just like you said. Not always right. I'm really good with music over movies, I should say. So we'll get a chance to see this. Again, I want to remind folks, First Coast News Plus, we have everything you need when it comes to the 97th Annual Academy Awards, the Oscars. It'll be right here on First Coast News, so you don't have to go too far to get a chance to see it. Every Wednesday at 10 a.m., we're going to get a chance to talk about some of the nominees. Coming up next week, we're going to get a chance to sit down with Kenzie Georges. She's going to get a chance to talk about some supporting actress and the lead actress roles, and we'll get a chance to dive deeper into that. And I promise you, I know you guys love Zach because he did such an excellent job. He will be right back here the following week, and we'll get a chance to talk about some of the best pictures, and we'll get a chance to dive back in some of his party pictures too.
Yeah.
We got to talk about those
incorporate
parties.
Those for sure next time.
We have to showcase that, and then we'll be keeping you guys updated and posted. Any questions you have, you can always reach out to us and tell us what your favorite movies are too on First Coast Plus as well. Thank you so much for joining us, Zach. How do they wrap up the award ceremony? We need a envelope ourselves.
I know, right? We need some credits rolling or something. Yeah, no, I don't know. And this year they're not even gonna have the music, the original songs.
No.
So
okay, I was gonna say maybe our producer behind us can play our rap music because I think we're running out of time now.
Yeah, that would be good.
Well, thanks again. Thank you so much for joining us, Zach. Thank you so much. You are amazing when it comes to movies, and I promise you have to be in a movie. I think that's on the bucket list.
I would love that. I would love to be in a movie. It is on my bucket list,
Yes.
so I'd love to at least be an extra. But thank you for having me, and thank you everyone for listening to my picks, whether you agree with them or not.
All right, we'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.